once again. Can you hear me? Okay, that's good. And our participants online, Mitch, are we good? Perfect. So once again, you're all most welcome. We came up with a short agenda, but we are going to amend it and put off a few things to allow for us to engage in the gist of the matter. So shortly, we'll have a short prayer. And after the prayer, we are going to skip the introductions because as we take tea, we will get to know each other because that might take some time. And then we shall go into the welcome remarks, which will be coupled with a bit about the event. And then we shall move on to the pitch sessions. Our innovators are here, and we are very excited to see you all, ladies and gentlemen, both in the physical space and online. Like earlier said, my name is Harriet Adong, and I am the Director Communications, Learning and Knowledge Management at the Resilient Africa Network. I've been here for so many years, and it's so very fulfilling to see innovators ideate and scale their solutions. And this morning, I'm privileged to take you through our engagement. I'm going to request my colleague, Dr. Angela, to kindly give us an opening prayer, and then we get the ball rolling. Thank you.
Down to the most perfect that it can do. So we bless your name and we ask you to come and be with us as we go through that day and guide us with everything that we do. In the name of Jesus Christ we pray.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. Now, moving on, allow me to thank Policy Uganda once again for this opportunity for the Resilient Africa Network to actually execute a few activities or a side event of the Data Festival that had its official opening yesterday. Thank you so much. Thank you too for opening us to partnership with Code for Science and Society, the British Council, the Digital Human Rights Lab, who are also our partners, the Defenders, and Code for Africa, among others, including the Innovation Village, which we closely work with. Thank you for opening up those opportunities for us to partner. Now, for us to move on with this engagement, allow me to once again recognize Ms. Nema Aya, the Executive Director for Policy Uganda. Thank you for being a part of this. Yes. Thank you for coming home. This is home for you, and you're always welcome. Yeah, in the same vein, allow me to welcome and introduce to you our Deputy Chief of Party for the Resilient Africa Network. That is none other than Dr. Roy William Maiga. Dr. Roy William Maiga has kept this ship on the right cruise since inception. He's in charge of our day-to-day operations, and he looks at the fact that we execute all the activities as it should be. Dr. Maiga will soon welcome us officially, and then we will move on to the gist of the matter. But before Dr. Maiga comes to speak to us, like I said earlier, amidst us are innovators, female and male. We are very passionate about having both of them because we believe that the males add value to what the females add value to what the males do. So we like them to work together. But amidst us is also the United Social Ventures team. We closely work with them to grow innovations. And amidst us is the media. We can't run away from them because they help us to escalate the message out there. So thank you all in your various capacities for joining us. Join me to welcome Dr. Maiga to speak to us and give us a bit of overview of this event. We all know what is happening, but he will give us a pinch of what we need to remind ourselves. We are on Twitter. We are tweeting live here. Kindly visit the Twitter handles that you have and retweet, like, and let us make this work out very well. Thank you so much, each one of you, and let's listen to Dr. Maiga, and then we move on to the pitch sessions for the innovators. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harriet. Thank you very much, Harriet. I'm very happy to be part of this discussion today. Once again, my name's Roy Mayega. I've been here at the Resilient Africa Network for the last about 10 years. Very brief about RAN, people hosting you today, before I go into the subject of today's event. Resilient Africa Network, as it is known, is a multidisciplinary innovation lab, research and innovation lab, focusing on identifying ideas that contribute to building resilience of communities in Africa to adverse events. As you know, Africa is grappling with several resilience challenges. However, we believe that we have the internal potential as a continent to harness available resources, including data, to solve some of our biggest challenges affecting our communities. We are spread in 26 universities in Africa, in 16 countries, 26 universities in 16 countries in Africa, and we operate mainly around what we call resilience innovation labs. These are spaces that we have created where innovators, scientists, students, community members can come together to build ideas. This is one of the spaces that we have. We have a similar space in Jima in southern Middle South Ethiopia at the University of Jima. And then we have another space at the University of Pretoria in South Africa, and another one at the University for Development Studies in northern Ghana. So those are spaces that we've created, and we hope even to create other smaller spaces that are more reachable in the regions, like we are working with the Somalia Disaster Resilience Initiative, where we have a hub. These spaces are meant for you, for people, for communities to come and discuss ideas. Anybody can, those of you for whom this is the first time to come to this lab, this space is typically open to anybody. You can just walk in, request to use any of our tables here to have a discussion. We shall provide you with materials to facilitate brainstorming and all that. What we are interested in is for you to come up with ideas that contribute to development. We are partnering with USAID, that has been our biggest source of support, but also with UN Women, and also the government of Uganda that have supported in various ways. We have in this space incubated over 350 innovative ideas in this space. And across Africa, we've pushed out about 48 startup companies that are standing currently on their own and moving forward with their business. So that is the kind, and we are cross-disciplinary with health, agriculture, engineering, energy, financial inclusion, gender-based violence, humanities, and name it. We welcome all these ideas, whether they are physical technologies, social innovations, and all that can contribute. Now, I come to the subject of today's side event. Data is becoming one of the most important ingredients of innovation, and it has the potential to change the ball game in the way we deliver services, in the way we do commerce, and in the way we fight the threats that are affecting us. So as RAN, we are very, very happy to partner, to be part of this initiative that is led by Policy Uganda, which is a civic technology organization. We as RAN, we value partnerships, and we work with quite a number of groups. The social innovation ventures, one of those. So we are very, very happy to take on a new partner that will bring this expertise and competence in this very important area. Someone has said that data is the new petroleum. It's the new oil that will drive commerce, that will drive development across the world. So there's no moment in time for which it is as important for us to harness the potential for data as the time now. In low and middle income countries, we have quite a number of gaps in the way we collect data. So one of the biggest challenges that our innovators have is how to increase our capacity to collect data in the commercial and economic systems that are mostly informal, where a lot of transactions go on that are not captured. How do we bring in innovative tools that can help us to capture that data? And then when we flip the coin, we have some data that is available, but the extent and our capacity to tap into and utilize this data is lacking. I'll give a very good example in the sector that I know best. I'm a public health specialist. Year in, year out, the Ministry of Health collects data from thousands of clinics across the country that is sent in form of monthly reports and sent to the districts, aggregated and sent to the Ministry of Health. And then every week, the same clinics send a weekly epidemiological report that is sent also into this repository. However, there are very few incidents where we've heard from the repositories where this data goes that these are the trends that we've analyzed, and these are the mega trends, and this is what is likely to happen in such and such a manner. We have a wealth of data in some corners, health data being part of that. What we'd like to see is an increase in applications that can tap into this data and maybe triangulate it with other data. For instance, it's possible, for instance, to triangulate health data on STDs with the data on how fishermen are part of the high-risk groups for HIV/AIDS in Uganda. So triangulating data, for instance, from how fishermen use their mobile phones, whether voice or SMS, and correlating that with trends in STDs, so that we are able to know when are STDs likely to peak in fisherfolk communities, and what are these signals that can tell us when to intervene and push up our sexual and reproductive health programs. These things are possible. Radio, TV use, and also social media use. All these are areas where we can triangulate existing data, some of it that is in form of disorganized, not very aligned data, qualitative data, but if we are able to mine it and align it with other health data so that we can get signals that can tell us how to improve country. So I've used an example of a health intervention, the health sector, but all the other sectors, the transport sector, the way our traffic is organized, or I would say disorganized, the security data that we collect from millions and billions of megabytes of footage that is collected from security. Some of it not related to security, but the transports and how people interact and use different spaces. All this is data for which you, the innovators, can design solutions that can tap into the data. I conclude with a call to our innovators to take advantage of these opportunities. E-commerce in Uganda, for instance, in the region is rapidly growing. How can we come up with the more innovative solutions that can tap into data? Issues of artificial intelligence, mining of data, machine learning for both qualitative and quantitative data. All this is up to us as innovators to come up with the solutions that are so badly needed for the region. I would like to thank Policy Uganda once again for initiating this, and we look forward to expanding this partnership and to the skill sets that you bring to our space here, and we think we shall continue with that. Thanks to the Executive Director for Policy Uganda for giving us this time, for being in our lab and participating in this very important occasion that your organization has championed. With those remarks, I would like us to officially move ahead with the function. We welcome all our innovators. We don't take you for granted. We value you because you are the reason that we exist. Thank you very much, and we look forward to a very interesting event.
Thank you, Dr. Maiga, and thank you so much for those warm welcome remarks. We are now moving on. Like earlier indicated, we have the new vision in here. We have UBC, we have Monitor, we also have the Uganda Radio Network, and we expect to have NBS because we want them to get this out and get it out excellently. Thank you so much. NBS is here. Yes, I have seen the beautiful T-shirt. Thank you so much. It's not because I subscribe to NBS, but I love red. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on. We are ready for our pitch sessions. And number one to go is Safe Bango. Safe Bango, Sol Kavali. The floor is yours, and Angela will flag your presentation. Don't feel constrained to stand behind this podium. I personally don't speak well behind the podium. I like to engage with the audience, but remember, you have only very few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harriet. My name is Sol Kavali, and I work with a team of other 3 members. One of my colleagues is in-house. His name is Misaj. And we work with Safe Bango Technologies. A small description of the social enterprise is we are devoted to designing and producing wearable safety bracelets, which can be used by women and girls to call for help in case of an emergency. Angela. And one of the most problem here we are working on is gender-based violence. Many reputable sources like the World Bank and UN Women COVID fact sheets for 2020 reported that 1 in 3 women will face gender-based violence at some point in their life. But most of these reports don't show us why this is really happening. And here in Uganda, this violence and assaults happen on a daily basis. So when our team went to the field to find out what is the problem, why do people don't report violence, and the results we found out, they are very astonishing. On over 200 people, we asked why they don't report violence. 58% of them said the problem is associated with the cost. And the main reason here, they told us that the many tools which exist on the market which can be used to report, like the bracelets, they are very expensive because they have to be bought from outside and they are taxed heavily. And again, other tools, they have to use internet, and very many people are not able to subscribe over the monthly. And another thing we found out is other tools, they are very complex to use. One of the story which I can share with you is a person who was raped at the campus. They were on a party and the people were just outside the room and she could not call for help. The music was loud, and when she wanted to call for help, she had to get out her phone, go ahead and put in the password, and then dial the number. So another thing we found out is people don't have confidence and they don't trust the people who can come and give them support. And by the most outcoming person is the security personnel. They say that people, whenever we call for help, people take long to respond. And the argument here is, what if I could call someone who could come and give me help there and then? So these are the things which we took as a design challenge to come up with a Safe Bango bracelet. Safe Bango bracelet is a wearable safety device. It can be worn on your wrist. And with a simple activation, with a press of 5 seconds, you can just press it and it will collect the physical location of where you are and sends it to the 5 trusted people you registered with us. These people will receive a message that you need help, and they will come and give you help instantly. So I would like to take you through of how we started with a Safe Bango. Our initial idea when we are starting Safe Bango, we realized that people wanted something which has a camera, an audio, and video to collect everything around them, which can be used in the web system, in the collection of evidence. But when we went ahead to go and find out if this is very possible, we realized that when we are going to put each and everything together, these things are not big. These things are going to be very big and expensive. And we took this as a challenge, and we want to say that we are the first company here in Uganda to be working on something like this. We further had an idea which the people could use, and with support from the ResilientAfrica network, we had to move to Gulu with our prototype. And when we moved to Gulu, by that time we had an alarm. And when we asked people what they think about what we are working on, and when we shared them our vision, they told us that if you have an alarm, someone is just going to kill you and leave you there. So we are like, what can we do? So we went ahead to ask very, very many people on how each and everything is going to look. And we ended up taking out the alarm, and we are like, we're going to have 2 versions, the one with alarm and the one with not-alarm. So currently, that is the Safe Bango bracelet which we have with a blue. But then, as we have been working it on, we have collected a lot of data, and some of this includes how people want it. At first, we wanted to have those modern designs, but when we reached out to people, at over 100 people we reached, at least 6 of them, they were like, we need something which is culturally acceptable. And the reason we are giving, they wanted something which can camouflage with already existing bracelets. And that's what we are working on. That's what we are working towards. And we have been carrying out research with different organizations to find out what they think about our platform. And one of the main findings we found out is very many people told us that what if we could collect this data when the person presses their Safe Bango bracelet, we could collect this information. Maybe, I will just give an example. What if very many people go ahead and press their Safe Bango bracelets in one spot, and the government, and we have this data that around Makerere, along that given route, there are a lot of activations there for the people who are using Safe Bango bracelet. So we realized that we need a web system. This is something which was not at the back of our mind. And we believe when we are done with a pilot, which is ongoing now, and we give out Safe Bango bracelet, we shall be using this data to make informed decisions, and we give it to the government. Probably when we share with you that a given spot has a lot of activations, maybe the place is missing a night light and people are scared. That's why they use their Safe Bango bracelet. Another thing we plan here is we want to show why different people are not pressing them. So this is something which is going on in our pilot. And then what we also learned out is very many people say that this is a good tool to have, but others say they cannot afford them. So using data, before we thought people could be able to buy them, but when we went out to the different areas in Moroto, Kotido, and Nakapiripiti, over 80 people told us that we cannot afford that piece. It's 90,000 for now. We cannot afford it because it is very expensive. What if organizations could just buy them for us? So using our data, we had to come up with at least how do we make sure that organizations can buy these bracelets and give to the users free of charge, and we are still using that same data to inform our business model. So besides this, another thing we found out is, at first we thought everyone could understand English, but when we went out to find out, the data showed us that very, very few people understand English, and in the near future, we are going to start sending out the messages which call for help in local language. So with that, I want to acknowledge some of the partners which we have been working with, and with support from all these partners, we have been able to make the different field trips to carry out our research learnings, and others have been supporting us to make sure that the team has a very, very good experience when working with people. So I want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Sol. And we wanted for us to keep all our questions and comments, we note them down so that we get all our 5 innovators pitch. And then when it's a chance for us, then there's a chance for us to ask the questions or ask for clarity, you just point to one of them. So this is Safe Bango, Sol. So take note
from achieving the potential that is it's due. So we know that Uganda is naturally, we call it the Pearl of Africa, because you can throw a bean seed somewhere and it will grow the next day. So why aren't we getting that potential in form of our income and our produce? So we noted that some of the challenges that face farmers is they don't have access to genuine inputs, they don't have access to competitive markets, and even those who have access to genuine inputs do not have the ability to do farming right, because they do not know those good farming practices that can enable their yield to grow. And so that's how we developed the Easier Greek platform. Easier Greek is an end-to-end mobile and web application which provides services to farmers across the agricultural value chain. We connect farmers with input suppliers, with offtake, that is produce buyers, and give them also information that will enable them grow crops in an appropriate way and get the yield that they require. So we provide an Android application which farmers use to access several modules within Easier Greek, within the Easier Greek app. So some of the modules that they can access are AgriShop. So AgriShop is the module that where farmers can buy genuine inputs from suppliers. So we have partnerships with several suppliers within the Ugandan market who are able to give farmers genuine inputs, and we deliver such inputs to the nearest trading center where the farmer can pick them. We also provide garden mapping services, which allows farmers to find out the accurate acreage instead of using the traditional method that is currently being used by most of our farmers in Uganda. The app also includes an offtake module where farmers are able to access markets for their produce. There are several other modules. I'll talk about the beta extension. So I earlier said that although farmers may have access to the genuine inputs, they may not know how to use those inputs to come up to bring about the potential that their farms could give. So the beta extension is just an e-extension service that gives farmers information about the crops that they're growing, how to do it well, and what practices they need to perform on their farms in order to get the potential that is due to them. Other modules that we have are easy credits, which is financial, because we believe in the holistic. Our slogan, one of our other slogans, is to provide a one-stop center for agriculture. So we want a farmer to come into Easier Greek and find everything they need within that one space. And so we also do financial support. So within our ecosystem, the farmer is our central user. Everything, our staff and our partners are aware that the farmer is our most important stakeholder, and we do everything to ensure that the farmer benefits in the end. So we work with off-takers, input providers, financial service organizations to give access to those farmers. We also know that the larger percentage of farmers do not have access to smartphones, and so we work with a network of village agents and master agents who have smartphones and are able to connect us back to the farmers. So at the core of Easier Greek, data is our driver. Data is our driver for decision making. It's our driver for everything that we do to provide the services to the farmers. I talked about the fact that Easier Greek collects and provides information. So as we engage with our farmers, we get their profiles, we analyze their transactions within our different modules. We collect such information. We also use external information such as external data, such as satellite data, weather data from genuine sources, and collect all that data, collect it, and use it for creating dashboards and business insights for better service provision. And also, we're also working on building machine learning models, which can be used to provide better services for farmers. One such example is our credit scoring model, which we have created, that reduces the loan turnaround rate by about 65%. So our farmers are able to get credits, goods on credit, at a very fast rate, other than going to the banks and doing all that. So we use the farmers' information, their transactional information, their profile information that they've kept with us to score them and check and know their credit worthiness and give them inputs. And we don't just give inputs anyhow. Based on our understanding of the farmer, we advise them on how much farming input they require, for whatever acreage of land they've recorded with us. We're also working on yield prediction models, input recommendation, and pricing models. So this is just a cute slide to show what we do. So farmers are able to see their credit score on the app in real time. Yeah, some of our partners that we work with are K+S, which is a minerals company. They provide the fertilizers and many minerals, agricultural chemicals. Then MFS is a fintech. IFC, I think we all know about that. And CropT is they're a satellite company that we work with. We also work with our private sector in Uganda because we want to support them. Grain Pulse, Bukola, and of course our one and only Resilient Africa Network and Makere. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eunice. I'm told that online is very busy, and as online is busy, can we now listen to Akatale Fresh? Akatale Fresh is Frank, and he's walking up here. Okay, as he sets up the presentation, our next innovator will be MyLib. So you get ready. Akatale Fresh is here, and we are getting ready with the presentation. Please take note of any comments, any questions. And thank you once again for the opportunity, for joining us online, but also for joining us in the physical space. Okay.
Thank you, Harriet. All protocol observed. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Frank Bushiu, and I'm the team lead at Akatale Fresh. The company is actually called Shopping List Uganda Limited, but we trade as Akatale Fresh. So basically what we do, we are a fresh grocery delivery company. So if you want fresh stuff for your kitchen, fruits and vegetables, you can download the Akatale app from Play Store or go to www.akatalefresh.com and you're able to get our app or access our website. So major things that we do is we ensure that our clients have quality, not just quality, but healthy feeding for them. We give them amazing prices, we ensure there is convenience, and we ensure speedy delivery. Just to break down our mission as Akatale Fresh, for our clients, we ensure quality, good cost prices, and of course convenience, like I said. One of the issues that I could just talk about is convenience. We all know the traffic jam in our cities, especially in Kampala. A World Bank study found out that traffic jams are costing Uganda over 800 million lost GDP. That's a lot of money that we could put to better use. So how does Akatale come in? We ensure that someone doesn't have to move on Saturday. They can just stay at home, and then we deliver to them. And of course, with COVID, we ensure health as well. For the farmers, we ensure they get better prices, consistent market, and market info. We are down on the market. We understand the market. We know when the prices go up, when the prices go down. We know when items are not available. So imagine I gave some of the information to any farmer. I would tell them, for example, you need to grow a particular item in this month, or make sure you have it. Why? Because the market doesn't have this particular item. You could profit more if you grew it at a particular month. So we have key market info for the farmers. For the society, generally, we ensure we curb food wastage along the value chain. There's a lot of wastage that goes on. For example, Uganda, we have data from UBOS that says Uganda's food loss ranges between 30 and 40% for grains and other staples, and 30 to 50% for fresh fruits and vegetables. So you can imagine if someone grew 100 kilos of, let's say, tomatoes, by the time they reach the market, 50% of them is lost. That's really, really big. Defining our market, we needed to use data in order to define our market. We target the middle class. The middle class definition is someone that spends between 1 to 5 million per month. That is a study by someone called Milton Ayoki. Then, according to our data, Uganda Household Survey of 2016-2017, 80.3 Ugandans are classed middle class. 7 million of those are lower middle class, and 640,000 are upper middle class. Now, I put that 640,000 in red because we have found out that those are prime targets. Why? Because most of those don't have time to go to the market, and most of those can, in their minds, they can say, I would rather send someone to the market than go myself. I'd rather spend maybe 20,000 extra or 30,000 extra than go to the market myself. So those are the upper middle class, are prime targets, 640,000. So once you're designing your business and designing your marketing, you want to target those. Then, of course, we have civil servants that are 309,000. And we have the formal sector, like those that regularly pay NSSF. We have data from NSSF, which is we have 800,000 people that actively pay at National Social Security Fund. So that's really, really important data that informs our decisions. Okay, finally, how do we make our decisions? Major decisions that we've had to make, I could give you examples. We regard business development, like we want to increase the number of clients. We want to expand the business. And in order to expand the business, you have to take into account that data that I shared before. We are planning to put up a cold room storage, so that we can keep our fresh fruits and vegetables longer. And for that, we need to have that very important information that we're already keeping. We're also planning to have delivery bikes, to purchase them. And so we need information to drive these particular decisions. And some of the information is shared right below. Key data, in 2020, for example, we registered 820 clients on our app and website. We had over 900 orders delivered in 2020. Then we found out that the average order is about 120,000. And then we realized that delivery costs for the whole year cost us 8.5 million shillings. Now, once you look at that figure, for example, 8.5 million shillings, you realize that when you think about the cost of purchasing a bike and maybe the cost of hiring someone to ride that bike and delivering, and the cost of fuel or non-fuel, we are thinking about e-bikes, for example, the cost of having running the battery on the e-bike, then you're able to figure out, should I make this decision or should I just use the same system that I've been using right now, which is just getting like the guys, the normal border guys, and having them deliver for you. Yes, finally, the other thing that we do, very importantly, is we track customer feedback data using Google Sheets. That means for every order that comes through the system, we are able to call the client and find out, get feedback from them. They'll tell us, how was the order? What didn't you like about the order? Did you like every item? Which particular item didn't you like? And then we keep all this data in our Google Sheets, and we have all this data since we began. And we are able to change the systems, change anything that we need to change, make ourselves better, develop as a company using this data. All right, and finally, I just want to acknowledge the organizers of Data Feast, Ministry of ICT, the Innovation Fund at Ministry of ICT, RAN, and and very importantly, our staff that have made Katale Fresh happen. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning to you all. I am Andrew Mugera. Just a moment. Can you help me, please?
So you can speak. Could you speak without this? Our online audience will not hear us. Okay, I think as they come to do that, you can introduce yourself so that we don't lose time.
I am Andrew Mugera, co-founder of pull back, definitely it will grow, that the screen will enlarge. So I'm going to run a very brief demo here of how the solution works for you to see. So this is our app, and we have managed to successfully compile mathematics and science to date for primary 4 to primary 7. And I am going to choose randomly, I'll go to primary 5, and all computed, we've managed to do over 1,200 lessons with over 2,000 animations and illustrations complementing every lesson herein. So I'll take a scenario that I'm a teacher who is teaching digestion in the mouth. With these young learners, with their small attention span, you realize that sometimes they're explaining things, but it's very hard for them to really understand as much as this is digestion, they eat food every day.
Digestion in the mouth. Digestion takes place in the alimentary canal and begins in the mouth. The mouth plays a role in digestion, speech, and breathing. Digestion begins when food enters the mouth. The teeth break down the food in the process of chewing food. The digestive juice found in the mouth is called saliva and is produced by salivary glands on sight or smell of food. This juice softens the food and helps it to stick together. Saliva also contains an enzyme called salivary amylase, which works on starch and turns it into maltose. After the food has been properly broken down, it is rolled into small soluble round food particles with the help of the tongue, and then pushed backwards to the throat. The muscles in the throat swallow the food, pushing it into the esophagus, a muscular tube that passes food into the stomach by a process known as peristalsis. The epiglottis prevents the food from entering the trachea or windpipe during swallowing.
So with that brief demonstration, showing you the kind of visualization we take to the classroom. And in a typical classroom setting, the teacher can go on pausing and pointing out the key areas that they would want to emphasize. There is a lot. We are having illustrations that would take a teacher some time to draw, but in the interest of time, we may dive into further into our pitch session. So with that blended learning technology, you realize that it complements the teacher's class and helps them to cover so much more within a very short time. And that brings us to how did we get the inspiration to come up with developing MyLeap? So with over 7.3 million Ugandans within the ages of 6 to 12, you would realize that all these are attending primary school. And 69% of these are found in rural areas and peri-urban, where they are off the grid, unlike those that are in town here. So to kind of level the playing field, we felt like we had to come up with a solution that could reach every child to get an opportunity to get quality learning materials for all to learn. And when we go to our development, basing on the National IT Survey of 2017-2018, before we had developed a Windows, a web-based application, whereby someone goes onto it, types in our URL, and then they could access us. And we noticed that only 5.9% of Ugandan households had computers. However, still in the same statistic, they had 99.9% of households using internet having mobile phones. So that informed us to create mobile-based applications. So right now, our application is on the Android store, it's on iOS, and it can also be installed on physical computers, just the way we are seeing it here, so that all those with existing infrastructure can still use it. And the icing on the cake is that once you're online and then you download your lessons, you can still work offline. During the COVID-19 effect, we noticed that during the lockdown, at the peak of the lockdown between April and May, we had a spike in the download of our application, close to 68% across all the platforms. And this percentage significantly went on dropping as the sectors opened and parents started going back to school, to work. Definitely the downloads reduced, and they further reduced when schools started opening up, which means that as a country, we only embrace technology when we are in tight corners. It's not something that we would embrace in our comfort zone. However, with over 15 million learners being unable to access quality learning materials for them to continue learning during COVID throughout all stages, looking at secondary, primary, and tertiary and university, there was a need for us to come up with an ultimate answer and solution to this challenge. And this requires us to embrace technology and come up with a robust e-learning platform that can provide access to customized learning material and content that is harmonized with the national curriculum to ensure that in an event that we get something like the pandemic or any other challenge that would stop us from physically attending school, we should have an alternative to ensure that education continues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew. And our last for listening this morning is none other than Centers for Her, Arafat. Centers for Her, please come to the podium.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arafat. Sometimes I tend to be shy on days that end with Y. So since today is a Friday and it ends with Y, I'm shy. But you're very many. I'm going to remove my mask. I'm going to be a little bit confident. Thank you. So once again, I'm Arafat, a team member for Centers for Her. I'll be taking you through what Centers for Her does. First, I'm going to ask someone at random, maybe my sister at the back. I first met you when I entered here. Just imagine you're in this data first presentation, and then you go down to the toilets. They are not labeled, God forbid. They are not labeled, and unfortunately you enter a toilet that belongs to the male, and you find one gentleman in there, and then he harasses you, God forbid. Where do you report? Yeah. You just tell us where you report. Anywhere? Yes. Dr. Angela says?
You may feel shy to report. Sometimes you just go back home and cry, and unless it was really severe and you have to go to the hospital to seek care.
Exactly. Unless it's severe and then you have to go to the hospital to seek care. But does harassment need to be severe for you to report? For God's sake. So what does Centers for Her do? Centers for Her is a mobile platform that has mapped out all service providers of free post-violence services in the 10-kilometer radius from where you are. For example, here at RAN, I've asked my sister, do you know anywhere you can report? But there are a lot of service providers just in 10-kilometer radius from here that can provide free services, so that Dr. Angela doesn't need to go back home and cry but can go either to a nearest police station or call a counselor to talk about it, and then, the issue is solved. So very many girls out there, women and girls, don't know where to report such services. And I still say Dr. Angela, as she said, they'll go back, cry about it because maybe they'll feel shy, ashamed, they'll have lost self-esteem, and they'll have nothing to do because they don't have where to report. So here, Centers for Her comes in handy, where we provide access or linkages to free post-violence services in a reliable, fast, and confidential manner. How is it reliable is that it's a mobile application. Once downloaded, you will not need data again to access the services. How is it confidential is that the service provider doesn't know you, unless otherwise you'd want to introduce yourself. And third, how is it reliable that anytime you want, it will be there. First is that within 10-kilometer radius, you can always find free services. What services are there? We have legal services, we have police, health centers, shelters, HIV, AIDS services, family planning, police surgeons, counseling centers. One time we had a case whereby a young girl was raped by a relative who was taking care of her, and she didn't have anywhere to go. But this is a person who was keeping her, giving her shelter, food, and the rest, So when we map such centers, for example, if you're raped by a relative who is housing you, at least you have an option to stay somewhere meanwhile as you're sorting the violence issue. So how have we used data to inform our work? First, during ideation and prototyping, we reviewed the UDHS data that says 5 in 10 women, 51%, neither sought help nor told anyone about the violence. Exactly what Dr. Angela has talked about. Why? Because maybe they don't know about these existing services anyway. During the pilot and refinement scale-up phase, we reviewed the 2019 and 2020 police crime report. We know that the recent crime report has been so informative. We quoted 17,664 cases of GBV in 2020, That was an increase by 4,000 cases from 2019. And we know that during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had a lot of GBV cases being reported. Why? Because now the men and the women and their children were staying at home. One case of a man in our community told me, I did not know how fast salt can move in my house, Every time the woman would come, salt is done. And you're like, we just bought salt yesterday. Sugar is done. We just bought sugar yesterday. Not knowing that now all the children at home, he's also at home and the women at home. So there is overutilization of resources. Now that the children are not at school, a kilo of sugar can be consumed in about a day or two. So he would really ask his wife, what is happening? This is not the rate we would consume such resources. So such cases during the COVID-19 pandemic also escalated GBV. What has been the impact of our application so far? We have 56 centers that have been mapped. You can take a visual look here. Like I was explaining, within 10-kilometer radius, for example, if you download the app from Google Play Store, this black pin will show you where you are, your current location, and then this is about 10-kilometer radius. So you can see very many service providers within your locality. So those have been the centers that have been mapped. Like I said, we have legal services, shelters, HIV, family planning, police, and very many others. 308 user subscriptions so far since 2020. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we've not had a lot of engagements, as most of our engagements have been community. So we had put quite a pause on that. And then we have more than 700 user request logs. What are these user request logs? These are people who are seeking for a service. Maybe they need family planning. They've been raped. One time, a lady came to where I work from, and she wanted PEP services after being raped. She was raped on Friday, she came on Sunday. So she had a few hours to go, And then what was the option? We didn't have any. We didn't have a solution like Centers for Her to see who are those service providers of PEP within her locality, you know. Now that we have such an application, maybe we can help a lot of more women and girls access services. We hope to map out more centers within the country so that we scale up our services. And then also using feedback from our users. When we run our query reports, we understand that there is need for a service provider app or a service provider platform so that when a woman or a girl requests to access a service, say PrEP, the service provider in the nearest locality receives the request and then they can attend to that person. So in that way, we also hope to map out or to understand where most violence cases occur. So it can be like a heat map of where most GBV hotspots are, either within Kampala or any particular area around Uganda. Last but not least, allow me to thank our partners so far. We have UN Women. They've been very instrumental since our hackathon. I think we are sisters to Safe Bango. We were given birth at the same hackathon. We are twins now, yeah. Makerere University, Resilient Africa Network, we are working closely with the Gender Mainstreaming Department. And then Resilient Africa Network is also here. They've really given us good mentorship, technical support to ensure that the Centers for Her app is moving. And then Naguru Youth Health Network, where we belong. It has given us platform to engage with young women and girls to further understand and also create awareness about our application. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Okay, let's give a loud hand of applause to all our innovators. Okay, so we open up the discussion and we take on questions and areas for clarity. I think we will start in-house and then we will read out what is online. Is that okay? Yes. Anthony, do you want to take on from me or I continue? I continue. I have a nice voice. Good. Thank you. Okay, so our innovators, we are going to request you to come and take on these beautiful chairs here in the most favorite color. Just quickly. Yeah, sit in a way that the lady feels taken care of. So, you want me to use that one? No? Okay. Okay. So I think instead of standing here, I'm going to move right there so that I sit with these creative minds. So in-house, do we have any specific areas of how are we going to do this? Do we have a movable microphone? Another one? Or I give out mine? Okay, thank you. So we are going to start in-house. Please prepare your questions, areas for clarity, and then we will go online and get to see what is happening there.
Thank you all so much for your presentations. It was really nice to hear about your work. I have many questions, but let me ask my first one to Sol from Safe Bango. I wanted to ask, how has so from what I understood, when someone presses the button, it alerts 5 people that they've chosen, correct? And so far, has it been used? What has the success been when someone has found themselves in a tricky situation? And yeah, generally, what's the uptake like?
Thank you so much, Nama. Currently, I have to put this forward that we are still in our pilot stage. And so far, the success rate, we have had a lot of learnings. And maybe to share one of the outstanding one is when we are around Kampala, our bracelet works very well. And maybe the outstanding scenario is we had a moment when we are tracking over 12 satellites. Yeah? And then, but when we managed to go to the villages, that is when we were in Kotido, we discovered that besides the coverage for the network being very, very down, the people there, they find it very hard to use Airtel and MTN. So this is something which is really, we really take for serious, because we are like, what if we had rolled out without finding out this? And then more especially, another thing which we are trying to look at is when we visited those sites, very few people have access to internet. And this prompts us to come up with another way of using the Safe Bango bracelet. People don't have access to internet, but they have access to cell phones. And to get the location using the global positioning system, you don't need internet. So it prompts us to use another model of finding out where the person is. And this is something we are also piloting, so that when someone goes to an area where they don't have access to internet, they are able to be located in case they have an emergency. I hope it was answered very well. Okay. So literally the bango it's a standalone. You don't need a telephone. So you just have to press it for 5 seconds. It turns itself on, and it collects the physical location of where you are, and it sends it over the SMS. So you don't need you don't need internet, so you're always safe anywhere you are. Thank you so much. Okay.
Alex Mugasha from NBS TV. So I really want to understand how much money did this project cost you to come up with this initiative, and how much does the bango go for if it's to be purchased by an ordinary person like me?
Yes, my name is Tony Ninsim. I come from Prudential. So, you talked of integrating 5 numbers, you talked of 5 numbers, where somebody has to choose 5 numbers, then you store them in your database for the case of alerts. I would imagine if I am in Kampala now, but tomorrow I go to Mbarara, is there a possibility of me myself editing those numbers such that people I can now update and put the numbers for the people who are living in Mbarara? Because if now I put the numbers for the people who live in Kampala, now tomorrow I go in Mbarara, how will I be able to? Then again, now the second question is about the physical appearance of your bango. Is it going to be resembling like a watch? Because if it is having a specific physical appearance, somebody will know this person is putting on a safe bango. If I manage to interfere with him or her, then I will get some issues. So maybe you use other tactics. How are you going to ensure? Are we going to ensure that the safe bango maybe has to somehow resemble like watches? Thank you.
I'll start with my colleague here. You asked about the amount we have put so far. So most of the amount we have put, it has been going in research and development. And if you are to ask, when we started, the whole Safe Bango bracelet was costing over 470,000. And from what we have done right now, it's costing over 140,000. So we have been able to identify maybe the reason why it was costing over 400,000, it's because we are getting most of the things from outside, and we didn't have information on who actually has it around here. But when we get to know how we have been, where we can source the raw materials locally, that was good. And another thing, we are planning to drop the cost to as little as 70 to 100,000. And this is one of our goals. We want to set up a mini manufacturing plant because everything we need to make sure to have Safe Bango in place, we have it in the country. So this is also another learning which we have had over the time. And we believe by the end of the year, if God wishes, we will really want to set up a manufacturing plant for Safe Bangos in the country. To answer my friend, so if you move to Mbarara, I remember showing up the interactive web panel. So you have access to that platform where you can change the people who can give you help. So in most of the cases, we envisioned like women who trust their spouse to come and give them help. But also we had a scenario whereby the spouse is inflicting pain on the person. How do the person gets to change? So you just have to log on. It is very interactive, and you change the person who will come and give you help. I would like to give me more about the last question, please. The appearance, yes. So we have been engaging a lot of people on the appearance, and we have managed to visit different students at Makerere University, Chambogo, and other institutions, and they have told us that they need this Safe Bango bracelet in the shape and the form of the already existing bracelets. And when we did research, why they wanted to do that is the bracelets which exist, they make them feel attracted to their culture. So they need something culturally acceptable, and this is something which we really loved because it is going to help us to make very many Safe Bangos and to achieve camouflage. I don't know if it's very well, but we are planning to make sure we have different sizes, different forms, so that if she has one and she has one, you can't actually know what the other person is having. Thank you so much.
My question is for Eunice, is that correct? Yeah, at Easy Agric. I really loved your presentation, and I loved seeing how you are incorporating data in every aspect, whether that's predictions, whether that's monitoring the transactions. I wanted to ask you about how is the uptake of the product, and most importantly, like, are you finding that Ugandan farmers are open to this kind of a product? Especially given like the digital literacy barriers, like I think it's extremely useful. And I also worry that a lot of young people are not going into agriculture. Like this is something they could also, take up and motivate them. So I guess just generally, what's your experience on the ground?
So, allow me to remember. So we have 2 sets of farmers that we have divided our farmers into 2 sets. So we have the smartphone farmers, those who use smartphones on a daily basis. Then we have the non-smartphone ones, those who don't have smartphones, but they still need our services. So that's from the onset, we knew we had that barrier of technology, and we have found ways to innovate around that. So for smartphone farmers, it's mostly maybe the guys around Kampala who have farms outside or within. We have about 8,000 registered smartphone farmers on our platform, and they order with us on our daily, on our weekly, at least we receive orders. And as far as getting that uptake, you're very right. It's hard to get people to move from going to the stockist next to their home to ordering from an app, and we are constantly innovating around that, trying to get the customer's perspective and get them to understand. So, like, Easy Agric, our agri shop is it's almost like your e-commerce platform, yeah. And so the same principles that serve e-commerce are what we are using. Of course, we tailor them to our kind of users to get users on board, and also using the other modules in the application, things like beta extension services, by adding more other modules in the application, we actually enable farmers, people can come onto the application. For example, if I just wanted to know how to grow cassava, I don't have to go to the internet and search. They may probably give me how to grow cassava in Mexico, not in Uganda. Yet, using our platform, you can get that information right there. I hope I remember the other question. So, and then as far as the farmers who are outside who don't have smartphones, we have come up with a way of reaching them using an agent network. So we have village agents who have smartphones. So a village agent can have like 20 farmers around under him, and he registers those farmers onto our platform, and we access such farmers using those village agents. So we also know that you need order. There are cooperatives around all villages, all districts have cooperatives. Those are organized cooperatives that farmers are normally a part of. So we normally deal with those village agents that are under cooperatives, so as to build trust with our farmers. And so the village agents will order for the farmers, they will get the inputs to the farmers and things like that.
And how do you monitor it? Is it all from the products they buy, or is there some other way that you make money?
Oh, yeah, so they're the products they buy. We have commissions from the products that they buy. We have a pricing model. And we also, as I talked about offtake, so we have an offtake module where farmers can sell to bulk buyers, so bulk buyers like Grain Pulse in the market. So for every sale that is made through our platform, there is a commission. I'd also talked about the financing part of the. So we also provide financing to farmers at a small cost that they can handle. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have two more this side. And I think after those, we will go. I have a few questions here that I'll read out. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Eric Mobazi. My first question goes to Centers for Her. Is there a plan to roll out some of these services to men or boys? For example, access to family planning, PEP, and others. My second question goes to MyLib. Do you own the copyright to this content? Do you design the content yourself or otherwise?
My name is Wamboga Teridon, and my question goes to MyLib. So my question goes to MyLib. I was inquiring, does the product include the projector? Do you sell the projector, or you only sell the content? Thank you.
Okay. We can also have hers, and then we will move online.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria, and my question goes to MyLib. What other module do you have for the students, the pupils who can't see? Do you have any Braille module for them?
Yes, let's start with Centers for Her.
Thank you. There's a question on do we plan to roll out to men and boys? For example, for cases of PEP and FP. The Centers for Her app is open to everyone, just that our target audience was women and girls. I'll give you an example. When I was at home during the COVID-19 lockdown, my neighbor was robbed. And then, we didn't know any police station nearby. I stay in Chisasi. But there are a lot of police stations. Of course, you can know a police station, but at night, you don't have a contact with the OC, So it was by chance that we had already downloaded the Centers for Her app, and we had mapped some of the police stations, and then I'd also visited the Chisasi police area. So I had the number to the OC. I just went to the Centers for Her app, looked around the Chisasi police stations, I got the OC's number, and then we got in touch with the OC who came that night. So it's an open app, even when our target audience is women and girls, but that is primarily. Secondary target audience can be any other person who requires post-violence services. Thank you.
Okay, Mylib.
You were asking whether we own the copyright to the content. Yes, we own the copyright. That material you see there, we're having a team of animators. This has become our specialty, to digitize content. So we model, render, go to studio, do the voicing, and do the post-production, and be in position to come up with a solution like that with animations. Second question, does the product include a projector, or you only sell the solution? Well, we're having different packages for different settings. Individual homes, those with existing hardware, parents having their own tablets, computers, they can go to the respective stores and then they buy. Areas in the last mile, areas up country, or even here in school, because we are looking at a class setting, this is where we are providing these projectors so that the teacher can easily add it to their books or their teaching materials, and then they work with it in a class and then share it to the next stream. So for schools, this is where we're using these projectors. For homes, if they have existing hardware, they can install, go to the direct stores and install. And then we can also provide tablets already pre-installed or hardware pre-installed with a hardware, sorry, with a software. Finally, Victoria was asking whether we are having any other modules for the people with disabilities. Well, this has come in as a request. As you see, our product is still a product in development. We even haven't gone down to primary 1 to primary 3. But again, it's coming up so much, especially, you see, with Braille, it may require a little bit of more technical expertise, but the deaf, adding a little bit of sign language on the video, that can easily be done. So it's something that we are considering as a team so that we can incorporate it in the existing content that we are having. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Did we answer all? Yes, we did. I have some questions here, and they are cross-cutting. So in case your colleague responds, please do not repeat what they have responded so that we keep within time. So one is, what challenges have you faced in capturing relevant data to effectively inform improvement of your innovation? Okay? What are the challenges that you have faced in capturing relevant data to effectively inform improvement of your innovation? The other one is, what kind of data needs do you have as an innovator, or do you require, so as to enable you to effectively advance implementation or scale up of your innovations? What kind of data needs do you have? Those are the two questions. Could we go? Anyone ready? For the first one, the kind of support that you need, and then the challenges.
Thank you again. My name is Saul, and I would just like to share some of the challenges which we have come across with. The main challenge here is, because we are the first organization to be doing this in Uganda, one of the challenges we have come across is the supply chain. Most of the products we have to use, we have to get them from out, and they are heavily taxed. But this is something we are working on, and we are working on with a ResilientAfrica Network Lab. Another thing which has greatly affected us is the COVID-19 pandemic. It has really disrupted our plans. And maybe the second last one is when it comes to the system itself, whenever we feel like we have solved one challenge, then it brings up another. And then when we solve it, it goes and brings up the first challenge. And when we solve the third challenge again. So this has really been a challenge, and we are happy that it's something we are working on and we are learning more from it. Thank you so much.
Once again, I'm Frank from Katale Fresh. The challenge is strongly cultural, like when with regard to data. Like you find that the teams that you're working with, you have to like really train them and get them to respect and to see the importance of collecting this data. At times they may not see the immediate need or the forthcoming need for the use of this data, but you know, you just have to drum it into them, like get all the members of the team involved in being vigilant about collecting the data. And then secondly, with regard to information, like information that helps us make our decisions, one of the things that I realized, like some of the information I needed at the beginning, you would go to like the UBOS library and check, and at times it would be hard to get that particular information. But I'm seeing that as we go on and on, information is, you know, you're getting to see more and more information, and but, you know, as a country, I believe we're still in the development stage of having data, especially out there on the internet. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else amongst you that has responses to the challenges and the needs?
As Centers for Her, the biggest challenge has been completing the referrals. In the referral system, it's not yet complete until the service provider, the user, gets back to you that, you know, I've accessed the service. Currently, we are planning to now just develop the service provider app, so that when a girl or a woman accesses the service, she's able now to get back to us, and then we're also able to track that that service has been completely referred, or the linkage has been purely complete. The other thing is the USSD system. We understand issues related to data, access to smartphones, and yet there are users out there in rural areas or hard to reach areas that cannot access maybe their mobile phones. And then the USSD system here comes in handy, but it's also an expensive platform to maintain. Each year it requires about $12,000 that Centers for Her currently does not have. But through our partners, we are trying to solicit some resources to ensure that the USSD system works. The other thing is that we've been asked by users to support with evidence. I'm happy with Safe Bango because Centers for Her is here to complement services. When Safe Bango makes an alarm, then Centers for Her comes in to make sure that you receive the service that you require. An example is when you're raped and then you're in a courtroom, then the judge asks you for evidence that you're raped. Which one would you provide? Would you provide any? If you provide a camera, maybe you say, this is the video that I was raped. It can be against you. They can say maybe you planted that camera. That was not rape, as if you can prepare for rape, you know? So providing evidence for some cases of violence to make sure that our users effectively get the justice they need has also been quite a challenge on our side. That's why I'm saying the services of Safe Bango here are very good, that when you have 5 people who can testify that we received the message at the same time, then I think Centers for Her can say, yes, the service was, the justice was given to the girl, and you know, we're helping reduce cases of violence against women and girls. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Arafat. And I can see Eunice would like to add. Please add briefly so that we keep within our time.
Okay. So one of the challenges with data, and I think it's something that is not only an easy or great challenge, but it's pervasive, is we live in a country where people predominantly do not keep records. Yeah. So I'm going to onboard a farmer, and the first time I get records about him are when I'm onboarding him. So there is nothing, even from an ID perspective, there's no like Ugandan portal where I can just punch in someone's national ID and confirm it. So you find that data collection becomes really expensive for us, and I guess for many other companies, data collection on our customers, and unless we have transactional data, and I probably think that's an opportunity, because as transactions go through our systems, we will be able to get that data and probably use it in a better way to help our country in a better way. And then for data needs, I think it's mostly talent, yeah. From a Ugandan perspective, it's mostly talent, like getting that talent that can do the things that we want to do with data. For example, at EasyAgric, we have very many big visions with the data that we have, and we collect a lot of data. We have a lot of data but we have very many big visions, and we need the talent to bring those visions to life. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to one itching question here, the very last one, given the time. It goes to Centers for Her, so pass the microphone to Arafat. What kind of data informs your decision whether to include a service provider or not? I think to include a service provider on the app. How do you know which clients to include on the app?
Okay, I'll ask which clients in form of the service they provide. One is that in our reviews for the data that is collected, for example, in the UDHS, it's comprehensive enough to show you that when a woman is violated, these are the issues. One is, for example, if it's rape, they will need PEP. And then they will tell you maybe out of the 300 people who were raped, only 50 of them accessed PEP services. So then you'll know there is a need for access to PEP. And then you'll have to map out all the PEP providers and what time they provide their PEP. Most of the government facilities work Monday to Friday. And then we tend to bring in service providers who are private, who work during the weekends. So that informs our need. Okay. Were there two questions in one?
It was one question, but okay. Broken into two.
So how do we, I don't think I got the first one right.
So the first one was your decision to include a service provider, which you've responded to. And how do you know which clients to include on the app? The selection of the clients.
So I think I've answered the first one, but targeting all the two questions that have come in. But maybe to make it more clear is that GBV is a cross-cutting area. If I read for you the data from the current police crime report that says 134 boys were violated, and then including an 8-year who was defiled, that informs the need again. So we make sure that the app is a cross-cutting app, even when we are primarily targeting the girls and women. But then when we review this data, it also informs us who is the next user of our app. It also informs us who is the next service provider. For example, if there is if there is a chairman down in the village who is supporting Link, women and girls to post-violence services, then we know now the chairman, the local council systems are working. If there is a VHT who has been captured or who has been known to support access to post-violence services, then we shall know the VHT system is also working, which we are currently working with And the VHG system has been a very good one around Naguru that we are stationed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And somebody has their hand up, really half a minute, so that we don't go beyond the stipulated time. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Joram Daga. I'm currently working with United Social Ventures, and what we do we support early stage startups to work on their business models and develop their pitch decks and be able to be ready for investment from investors. My question, I guess, goes to anyone. Regarding big data, so many risks are involved with having big data, and I'm curious about what are your thoughts on protecting people's rights regarding sharing that data with other people who could potentially use it for other users.
One of you wants to take on that? Eunice? Okay, thank you.
So I think that's a very big concern, and it's a very legitimate concern as far as data privacy is concerned. I think yesterday during the big event, everyone was mentioning data privacy, and protection of data is a culture. First, it's a policy that you build in your organization. Then it's a culture that you have to enforce within your organization and employees. So, for example, at Easier Greek, at least we have a data privacy policy that is communicated with all the farmers that we onboard through our app. So even the village agents are told to communicate to the farmer about how we're going to use their data and what kind of data we're collecting and how we're going to use it. And then you have to go a step ahead, and as you said, of course we're not, how can I say it? We're not an island as Easier Greek. We work with several stakeholders. And so you have to always be very vigilant about what kind of data you share with such stakeholders and what kind of contracts. I believe it also goes down to the contracts and the agreements that you have with such stakeholders to ensure that none of them is hurting the privacy of your users. So I believe it's more of a policy and then a culture that you enforce within your organization.
Okay, thank you. You want to add, or can we conclude? Okay, let's conclude this, and I want to give each one of you 1 minute, starting right here with Andrew. Andrew, what's your last remark in relation to living with data and utilizing data to innovate? Given the discussion we have had, any last one-sentence remark in relation to what we have been discussing, the use of data, and specifically using data for creativity and innovation? Thank you.
Thank you, Harriet. As much as you're limiting us to creativity and innovation, but it cuts across all businesses, that if only we can analyze the data that are everywhere around us, it can help us to do whatever we have to do in a shorter time, save money, because instead of working on a product that, or a prototype that isn't feasible, data can help you to go straight to a prototype that is workable. So I believe that if only we can embrace the usage of data and analyzing it critically, it will save us a lot of money and time and also improve our innovations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Arafat?
Yeah, thank you, Harriet. I'll just borrow Dr. Maega's words. He says data is the new fuel that is going to drive commerce. If we all don't analyze data, we're not going to solve problems. And day-to-day problems need to analyze trends of what has been happening. Even when you design the Centers for Her app, you first have to analyze what have been the existing apps and how have they solved the problem. If violence has been existing for almost a lot of decades, how have the existing solutions helped? That is still analyzing data. So that when you design the Centers for Her app, it's either to complement what has been done or bring in a new idea that is going to disrupt systems and end violence. Thank you.
I like the bit of complementing what is existing. Don't reinvent the wheel, but build on existing. That's very important. Thank you.
Actually, I'm not also going to be different from him. For me, in our case scenario, when we are using data, I just want to call upon each and everyone to put up their data in a very good way, and to the people who can do the good analysis. I believe when we have all this data in one place, it will help us to spot the loopholes. Just like my friend said, we know that there are very, very many organizations who are working on gender-based violence. And on our case, we realized we spotted a small niche, like if a person gets to see something is going to happen to me there and then, what do I do, right? So this is a very, very small niche which had very little work, which had worked on. And because we used data to find out that there are very many people who are working on preventing and consequences, so that's how we dived in. So I call upon everyone to go and identify those smallest niche. Those are some of the things which are keeping the challenges in our community. And I believe we can only change that when we get to understand them, and we will be using data to bring this to life. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Frank?
I think we can't underline it strong enough, the importance of data and information. From an inception point, from when you think about the business, you need to actually have data and information so that you're not just shooting in out of a hunch or out of just an informed perspective. You need credible information so that you know that if I start this business, I'm going to get 10 clients or 20 clients. So it's very important to have some information. Secondly, when you start rolling out, it's extremely important to have that data. Even when it comes to like dealing with, like some of us are in business, profitable business, dealing with URA. If you don't have the data, with you, URA is going to come and say, okay, now that you don't have the data, we are just going to just come up with any data, and before you know, you're paying too much when you could have paid just a little. So it's very important for us to get vigilant about the data that we keep and acquiring it. And I thank you for highlighting this in this data phase. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Eunice, briefly.
Okay. So me, I think I'll go with the two guys who talked about collaboration. But then also, just to add on it, I think the government, as far as data is concerned, the government plays a very important role. Because if we have a country where records can be kept and accessed easily by different stakeholders in an orderly manner, of course in a way that does not impinge on privacy, and I think it will be a great leap forward for all organizations. So collaboration between data within government, the private sector and also non-governmental organizations, I believe it's really key for progress in data, especially in our country.
Okay. Thank you so much. May we please clap for our dear innovators. And may we also clap for the online audience because they have kept with us. We are coming to the close of the session, and allow me to request Nema, kindly, if you don't mind, kindly give us a few closing remarks before we can retrieve out of this room. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Ran, for welcoming us to your home. It's been a real pleasure to listen to all the pitches. So thank you so much for pitching such interesting ideas from across so many different industries. One of the things that really stood out for me was what you said, Frank, about that the middle income people in Uganda are 8.3 million out of 43 million, and that technically your market is the upper middle class, which is only 640,000. And I think, for me, I find those statistics really depressing, because because even when you think about some of the most downloaded apps in Uganda that are promoted by some of the biggest companies like the telecoms, they get like 200,000 downloads. And yet you know that these innovations have so much potential, but we're so limited by, things like, in general, poverty, but also access. Almost all of you, I think, except Safe Bangle, pitched an app. And of course, I know that you get the question, it's always like, oh, but half of Ugandans, or maybe more, are not on the internet. What does that mean? And I think that, yes, we have to think about some of these issues like data protection and privacy, but some of the more fundamental issues is how do we get more people online so that they can make use of these? And generally, what are we doing to make it more enabling for people to get online? How are we lowering, internet is so expensive in Uganda compared to all our neighbors. So what are we doing to make internet cheaper? What are we doing to make devices cheaper? And I know that's a very big mandate, and I don't expect the people in the room to solve those things, but those are some of the issues that we have to grapple with. If we are to get data, when people are disconnected, it makes it so much more difficult, because we do a lot of field work, which means, getting in a car, fuel, driving on very bad roads, going into a village, all the enumerators you need, all the per diems, it really adds up, and it makes it so expensive to get data to build your innovations in Uganda. So I definitely see that it's very much an uphill battle, always, to get the data, and I'm really glad to hear, at least from 3 of you, that collaborating, building data collaboratives is the way to go. Data is so expensive, whether we're thinking about internet data or data you collect from people. So it's really up to us to think, how do we, as you said, collaborate with governments, public sector, private sector, startups, CSOs, because there is a lot of data being collected, and it's stored behind lock and key, and it's not accessible to a lot of people. So if so many people are working, towards how do we keep women safe, and many people are working towards this and they have the data, can't we create these databases that, that are grounded in safety, in protection, but also in sharing? So I think we really need to come together to think about what do those models of data sharing look like in a way that is ethical, inclusive, affordable. Because on the one hand, when private companies collect data, that's their profit. They're not going to share it with you. On the other hand, CSOs might collect data, but they said, oh, it was by this funder, and they don't want to share it with that funder. So it's really about being creative. How do we come together and really, more than just talking in rooms, but actually put in the work to make sure that data is available, it's open. So, as Dr. Roy said, that the ministry collects so much health data. Is that data open? Is it available for people to use and build innovations on? We need to really have those questions. So I know we're running behind. I love hearing about innovations and startup, and I love seeing the thing that you're doing. So thank you so much for inviting me to your space. I can't wait to see where your products go. So important. For example, MyLib. It's so important. One of the things, I don't want to ask too many questions, but I really wanted to suggest looking into AR and VR. I went to a AR training a few years ago because I love doing art. And they're these really cute cards, which, so if you just point your mobile phone at a card, it builds a 3D animation, and it's so cool. And when you really think about it, all you need is a smartphone and these sets of cards. So are there other opportunities like this where you can make education even more interactive? The thing is, I really feel like here, we're in a world of factory education. We pump children into packed classrooms, and it's not working. All these kids come out of school and they don't really have the right skills. So I'm really interested to see what the future of education looks like. The status quo is not working. So what kind of data do we need? What kind of innovations can we do to build the next step of what education looks like? So I could ramble about this forever. I know we're out of time. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you everyone for attending, the people who stayed online. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. One last thing, the event is continuing after this. You're all welcome to come for lunch at Motive, which is, what's the road it's on? Port Bell Road. So it's at Motive at Port Bell Road. You're all welcome to come for lunch. It'll be from 1 to 2, and then we have some more sessions on data in the afternoon. We have 2 or 3 data training sessions, and then we have cocktails from 4 onwards, which you're all welcome to. Come and network, come and meet other people working in data, talk about your innovations. So again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of the day.
Okay, thank you from the Resilient Africa Network. Please let's continue the conversation online. Policy Uganda availed us a cup of tea. It's out at our terrace. So as you go for lunch at Motive, we can also share a cup of tea. Nema, you have
one more thing. Sorry, everyone. I have some Safe Border has very generously provided us with transport. So I have some Safe Border coupons that you can use if you need to get to Motive. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to give it to Egu, who's seated back there, and he'll be able to give out the coupons. So Safe Border coupons. Thank you so much, Safe Border, getting our participants around. So please reach him if you need some free rides.
Yeah, I should take one free ride this afternoon. So Ego, keep me one Safe Border coupon. I need to take that ride to Motive. So once again, thank you all. We cannot thank you enough. We hope that we can continue with this conversation. Thank you, our dear partners, United Social Ventures. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you, Policy Uganda. Thank you, the Resilient Africa Network. Thank you, NBS Television. Thank you, UBC, the New Vision, the Monitor, Uganda Radio Network, etc. Thank you so much. Thank you, the gentlemen on the cameras, our team online. Thank you, everybody. We've come, of course, the team at the Resilient Africa Network. Dr. Angela, Anthony, please come and join me here. And we say one thank you from the Resilient Africa Network and others who are online. Our dear innovators, we are here because of you, and we are very proud of the work that you are doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we go for tea and for our lunch, we are 2 ladies here, but of course the team is very big. Others are online, watching and following, but this is the team that is in the room. For those online, my name is Harriet Adong, Director Communications, Learning and Knowledge Management. Anthony Sebagereka, our Research Manager, who was part of the panel yesterday at Motive, and then Dr. Angela at Kunda, our Engagement Manager. Thank you, team, and together we will say thank you. And we wish you all the best for God and my country as we build for the future. Thank you. Just before we go, could we have a quick group picture out there? And then we pick our tea. Thank you.